Hello Maths 2 teaching team. Hope everyone is all well. I'm currently on my placement and loving it. This is my second video since I made a major mistake in submitting my first unit plan, which I thought I did really well in, but did it in the wrong context. My fault. Anyway, I'll get straight into this one. So my unit plan is for a Year 4 class at Malala Primary School, 28 students in the class. They're very, they love practical lessons in maths. I initially saw that, and now teaching that, I can definitely see that, I can feel that. I can sense when they're off in class because they've heard too much content and they want to play a game or they want to get hands-on with something. So that's been something I've been learning with the class. And I've adapted the unit plan to suit. The unit plan is focused on numbers and algebra now, not statistics. And the specific substrain I'm doing is number and place value, which I've taught 2 out of these lessons already in my placement. So the unit plan is taught at a school of 160 students. It's a category 3 school according to DECT. It's an even ratio of boys and girls. That's, they get along at that age. They're not, there's no real issues with the class besides a few behavioural, but that's going to happen anyway. So the content that I'm focusing on is properties of odd and even numbers, place value up to tens of thousands, and partitioning and reasoning with numbers. So I want the students to partition their numbers whilst applying their place value skills. So they can't partition unless they have those place value skills. So that's going to be over the 5 lessons. I've included one lesson that is pure assessment, and that's because that is what I'm going to do in about, be before I leave my placement. So in about a week and a half, I'm sitting and having these kids go through a test on number and place value. So be my first test, I'll write. Okay. So to start it off, I want the kids to know the properties of odd and even numbers. My mentor teacher said they are very confident with odd and even numbers, but they will need refreshing from the previous term, I think it was. Yeah, it would have been the start of the first term. They were going through a little bit of stuff like that. So I found a really cool interactive game. It's called Odds and Evens Ninja, Number Ninja, and it's a abcya.com game, and it is pretty much just like Fruit Ninja, but you slice the odds or you slice the evens. A really cool game. It's got explosions when you get it wrong. It's engaging. That's how I'm going to start off the first lesson of the unit. Just get the kids on the floor in front of the whiteboard, interactive board, sorry. There are a few computers in the class, so once we've done a couple, I can get a group onto the computers to play just roughly, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it feels like. Eventually you can tell and you can hear that they're not, they're getting it, and now they're just playing for fun or they're being silly. So that's how I'm going to start it off. Then I'm going to go into a whole class discussion. I love whole class discussions. It's a little bit more difficult with this class because I don't have the attention span of my previous classes I've had on placement. So, and they're not really, their input's pretty low. It's more me evoking and trying to, how about this, or who knows this, or sometimes I just give the answer away, like the major prompt. But I still value them, and I am prompting a lot that they definitely remember the things I say, because I think either I say it so much or they get annoyed. But through my discussion, the kids are getting it. I can hear them give me back the answers. And so I'm going to have a whole class discussion with the keywords odd, even, divisible, whole number, dividing, and multiplying, multiplication. This is going to tie into the properties of odd and even numbers, where if you times an even and an even, it will equal an even. Odd, even will equal an even. Odd, odd will equal an odd. And even, odd will equal an even. So that property type stuff. And there'll be some activities to go through. So just, not activities, questions on the board that they'll go through after. I'm going to hand out help squares. So I've been doing that on placement. So very small. So if we have a sheet of paper, there'd be about maybe 20 help squares on here. So they're only small, and they're just the basics that I want the children to definitely remember. So this would be the multiplication by odd and even rules. So they'd cut that out, put it in their book. Now they stick that in their book for reference. So I don't need to keep writing it up. I can say, all right, get your book out, look at help square number 1. They go to it and we move on. They can refer to it all the time. Then we're going to go into number of the day. Number of the day is a cool activity. It's a PowerPoint activity where the number goes on the board, and we use terms like, is it odd or even? Is it divisible? Can you multiply it by 2? Which is, can you multiply it by 2? Can it be divisible by 2? Sorry. And can it be multiplied to a larger number? This is a type of formative assessment because you can look at their books through this. Then I'm just going to recap with another discussion. So that's lesson 2. Lesson 3, I'm going to start with a table points group game. So just recapping again, but just through questions. So give me a property of this, and is this an odd or even number? First hand up. Yep, you. Okay, that's right. Give points to your table. Then I'm going to go into a modelled activity where I introduce the styrofoam place value cups. So you're making place value cups out of styrofoam, and you start with 3 cups. So you're working in your hundreds. I'll say, give me 679. Now around the brim is all of the numbers, and you shape your numbers and make the number. So a bit of this lesson will just be making and crafting. The key question would we write 0 in the first cup? So our hundreds unit, would we write a 0 in there? Now this could be a tricky question, and it was a tricky question in the class, but we ended up gauging it, and I explained to them, no, we wouldn't write 0 in the first cup, because if we're working purely with hundreds, you can't have 0, 100. Technically, yes, but not when we're working with 3 units. We're going to play number of the day with the styrofoam cups. So go into the activity again, but they're partnered up and they're playing it. So it's hands-on, it's collaborative, it's fun, and they're doing the work, but they're using their cups instead of writing it down. The assessment can be of the cups. So it's so obvious, and I saw myself, kids were rushing and just making the cups, and instead of having the numbers all the way around the brim, it was halfway. So they were trying to work their cups, and the numbers were like this, all too close. So I sent them back. I didn't allow them to get another cup because that's not how it goes. They had to fix their own cup, take their time, and get the result that we all wanted. So you can assess whether they're listening, whether they're engaged with it, whether they listen to the number about 0, whether it should be on there or not. So it's a cool activity. Lesson 3, we're going to start with place value war, which is a game that you roll the dice 3 times, and whether or not you eventually get the higher number, you circle it. So it's just ordering numbers, slowly ordering numbers. But we're going to reach the tens of thousands. So 5 rolls, which is exactly what the ACARA want. They want to order numbers up to 10,000 at year 4, and that's what we're going to aim to do. And we did that. That's cool. Then I'm going to get them afterwards to circle all the higher numbers, so they're versing an opponent. Again, collaborative. It's fun. They're out of their desks. They can do it on the floor. They can do it on the sofa. Then I'll get them to order in their books the numbers. So just getting ready, getting used to all these ordering activities. Then I'm going to introduce in the lesson partition. Now it's going to be a discussion again. So I'm going to put partition on the board. Who knows what partition is? It doesn't matter, and at the start there wasn't many answers. It was a lot of prompting, but we got to it. Then I did an example myself. I asked the kid for a number, they gave me the number, I partitioned it. I did it slowly. I used prompts, said all it is working at 1 unit at a time and writing it. and then I gave the students numbers, and they picked it up fairly well. And it was good to see there's a lot of peer assessment in that lesson. They were helping each other. Now, this is lesson 3. I'm going to tell them that they need to focus on this petitioning because there's going to be a test, summative test in 2 lessons time. So they're going to be using an exit slip, which is a great idea from a reading we had in the course. And this exit slip, I want them to put what they feel they need to work on. Okay, but I'm going to use it with faces. So I'm going to put each topic on there. They have to put a smiley face, a sad face, or a confused face. And I'm going to gauge their responses. Start lesson 4 with a general discussion about the main themes from the exit slips. So what was the major thing they all kind of didn't feel good about? That's going to be the focus. The second one will be the second focus. And we're going to do a lesson of revision. Then I'm going to allow the students to revise themselves. A little bit of responsibility on them, but it also depends. You have to gauge it yourself. If they're struggling, I'm not going to be like, go revise. I'll obviously help as much as I can. But the class right now, we're about to go into the revision lesson, they really look like they're getting it. So I want them to have a bit of responsibility for their work. And also I'm going to give them homework. So revisions for homework, because the following lesson, final lesson, I know I'm a minute over, I'm sorry, is the test. So you need to start the test, especially at year 4. They're not really getting tested, especially not at my school, besides your NAT plans and stuff. Just telling them about the test will not break their whole year, make or break their year, just to see where they're at. And if they had been applying what they needed to in class, they'll be fine. It's not a difficult quiz. It's going to be a page, a page and a half, but they've done all the questions before. Now it's just applying it. Then obviously got to go through the importance of rules. The students complete the test and I get feedback after the test. I'm going to ask them, how did they feel about the test? Do they believe that their study helped them? These are the questions you ask hoping for a response. Sometimes you don't get the response you want, but yes, I'm going to try and tell them that study does help them, okay? And then finish off after all that maths, after all that hard work, with a fun game. So I've put at the end of the unit, golden child or heads down, thumbs up, something. Even, whenever you finish a test, sometimes you can't move on to the next thing. I don't want to overload them. So that's how my assessments work. Mainly a lot of formative through their number of the day, place value war, and general discussion, contribution, and their cup making. And the summative test at the end will be the test. So I hope I've went through everything there. My content descriptors, I've got 3, so investigate properties of odd and even numbers, place value, and partitioning. And yeah, I hope you enjoy my unit plan, and it's working really well so far in my class, and I'm enjoying placement. And I'm sorry I've went over the time, so thank you very much.